Imagine hearing the love of your life laugh with her friends, saying you're too stupid to catch her cheating. That's exactly what I heard on June 15, 2024, standing outside my own kitchen in Austin, Texas. My name's Michael, and for a year, my wife Sarah thought she had me fooled. But I didn't cry or confront her. I got smart, gathered proof, and turned her birthday dinner into a night she'd never forget. I'm Michael Thompson, 38 years old, just a regular guy teaching math at Jefferson High School in Austin. I love crunching numbers, hitting the trails on weekends, and making dinner for my wife, Sarah. Nothing fancy, but I thought we had a solid life. Me and Sarah met back in 2013 at a friend's barbecue. She had this big, warm smile, brown eyes that locked you in, and a laugh that made you feel alive. We got married in 2015, bought a little house in a quiet Austin suburb, and I was sure we were set. You know that feeling when you think you've got it all figured out? That was me. So, picture this, it's June 15, 2024, a Saturday night, about 7:30 p.m. I'd been at school grading papers, burning through stacks of algebra tests. I got home earlier than usual. Sarah wasn't expecting me till 9 o'clock. I pulled my beat-up blue Toyota into the driveway, grabbed my bag, and walked up to our front door. The house hit me with this mix of wine and perfume, and I heard laughter coming from the kitchen. Sarah was in there with her friends, Lisa Harper and Emmeline Gwynn. I thought, cool, girls' night. Figured I'd pop in, say what's up, maybe grab a beer and chill with them. But when I got near the kitchen door, I heard Sarah's voice, clear as day. She said, "Michael's too stupid to notice. I've been with James for a whole year, and he's clueless." Lisa let out this loud, ugly laugh. "Girl, you're wild," she said. Emily, who's usually all quiet, giggled and asked, "Doesn't Michael ever wonder why you're out so late?" Sarah just snorted. "He trusts me. It's almost too easy." My heart dropped right to my stomach. I stood there, hand on the wall, my bag sliding to the floor. A whole year. My wife, the woman I'd make pancakes for every Sunday, was cheating on me. And she was laughing about it, calling me stupid. Lisa chimed in, "You and James are too slick." Sarah kept going, "He's so boring, he'd never suspect." Can you imagine hearing that? Your wife, your home, your life, and it's all a lie. I wanted to barge in, yell, demand to know who this James was. But something held me back. I grabbed my keys, tiptoed out the front door, and got in my car. I drove to Zilker Park, a few miles away. It was dark, nobody around. I sat in my car, staring at the dashboard, her words looping in my head. Too stupid to notice. Let me paint you a picture of Sarah. She's 36, works as a marketing manager at a big firm downtown. Long dark hair, a smile that makes you feel like you're the only one in the room. I fell hard for that smile 10 years ago. But that night, I saw the real Sarah, cold, cruel, like her charm was just a trick. Then there's Lisa, 35, a hairdresser with bright blonde hair and a laugh that could wake a coma patient. She's been Sarah's best friend since college, always pushing her to do wild stuff. Emily's 34, a nurse, quieter, with a shy little smile. I always thought she was sweet, but that night, her giggles hit me like a slap. They knew about Sarah's affair and thought it was hilarious. I sat in that park, thinking back over the last year. Sarah was always working late, saying her firm had these big projects. She started wearing new perfume, dressing sharper for client meetings. Her phone was glued to her hand, and she'd smile at it in a way she hadn't smiled at me in forever. My best friend, Tom Reynolds, even tried to warn me. Back in April 2024, we were at his auto shop, and he said, "Mike, Sarah's acting off. You sure everything's cool?" I brushed him off. "She's just busy, man." I trusted her. I was dead wrong. Sitting there, I felt humiliated. But I also got angry, not the kind where you scream, but the kind where you get sharp, focused. Sarah thought I was clueless, and her friends were laughing at me like I was a joke. I wasn't going to let them keep laughing. I drove home around 10 p.m. Sarah was alone, washing wine glasses. "Hey, babe," she said, all sweet, like nothing happened. "You're home early." I forced a smile. "Yeah, long day." I kissed her cheek, went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I could have confronted her right then, asked who James was, why she'd do this. But I didn't. If Sarah thought I was dumb, I'd let her think that. I'd act like everything was fine, but I was already planning. I was going to find out who this James was, how long this had been going on, and what she was hiding. And when I had enough proof, I'd make sure Sarah, Lisa, and Emily never laughed at me again. So there I was, folks, June 15, 2024, driving back from Zilker Park with my wife's words burning in my head, "Michael's too stupid to notice." Sarah thought she had me fooled, laughing with her friends Lisa and Emily about her year-long affair with some guy named James. I'm Michael Thompson, just a math teacher from Austin, Texas, but I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. I decided right then to play along, act like nothing was wrong, and dig up every bit of proof I could. By the time I was done, Sarah's smug smile was going to disappear. The next morning, June 16, 2024, I woke up in our suburban Austin home like it was any other Sunday. Sarah was in the kitchen, humming, making coffee. "Morning, babe," she said, all sweet, handing me a mug. I smiled, took it, and said, "Thanks, love." Inside, my stomach churned. This was the woman who called me stupid, who'd been sneaking around for a year. But I played my part. I kissed her forehead, made small talk about her work, and started watching her every move. First thing I needed was to know who James was. That night, when Sarah was in the shower, I grabbed her phone. She still used our anniversary as her passcode, ironic, right? I scrolled through her texts and found a thread with JC. That's gotta be him. The messages were flirty, full of hearts and inside jokes. "Miss you already," she wrote. "Can't wait for Thursday," he replied. My hands shook, but I took screenshots and emailed them to myself. I put her phone back before she came out, all wrapped in a towel, smiling like she wasn't tearing my world apart. I did some digging on this JC. On June 18, 2024, I checked LinkedIn and found James Carter, 40 years old, a senior account manager at Sarah's marketing firm downtown. Slick suit, slicker smile, married with 2 kids. I asked a coworker friend, Dave, who knew people at Sarah's firm. He confirmed James was a charmer, always flirting at office parties. I needed to see it for myself. On June 20, 2024, around 2 p.m., I drove to a coffee shop near Sarah's office, the Bean Stop. I sat in my car, baseball cap low, and watched them. Sarah and James walked in, laughing, his hand brushing her arm. She leaned into him, all giggles. I snapped photos through my car window, my heart racing but my focus sharp. I wasn't done. On June 25, 2024, I took it up a notch. While Sarah was asleep, I installed a tracking app on her phone. She never noticed, too busy texting James. The app showed her going to an apartment complex on Riverside Drive 3 times that week. I looked it up, James lived there. I drove by on June 28, 2024, and saw her car parked outside at 8 p.m. She told me she was at a team meeting. I took a picture of her car, the timestamp clear. Every lie she told me was another piece of proof. By early July, I was building a case. On July 5, 2024, I followed Sarah to a hotel downtown, the Driscoll. She met James in the lobby, both of them dressed up like it was a date. I stayed across the street, snapping pictures as they checked in, his arm around her waist. I felt sick, but I kept going. I needed more. On July 10, 2024, I met my best friend, Tom Reynolds, at his auto shop in South Austin. Tom's 39, a mechanic, the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back. I told him everything. "Mike, she's playing you," he said. "What's your plan?" I told him I was getting evidence and waiting for the right moment. He nodded. "You're smarter than she thinks, man." Tom connected me with a private investigator, a guy named Carl, on July 12, 2024. Carl was pricey, but worth it. By July 15, 2024, he got me emails between Sarah and James, plus receipts from their work trips to Dallas and Houston. One email from James said, "Your husband's so boring, he's doing us a favor." Sarah replied, "LOL, he's got no idea." Reading that stung, but it fueled me. I wasn't boring. I was awake. Sarah's friends, Lisa and Emily, kept coming over, acting like nothing was wrong. On July 4, 2024, I hosted a barbecue at our house for them and their husbands. Lisa was loud as ever, joking about Sarah's work stress. Emily smiled at me like I was pathetic. I grilled burgers, laughed at their stories, and played the clueless husband. Inside, I was counting the days. Sarah thought she was so clever, but I was outsmarting her. By late July, I was ready for the next step. On July 22, 2024, I met a divorce lawyer, Ms. Karen Patel, at her office in downtown Austin. She was sharp, no nonsense. I showed her everything: texts, photos, emails, receipts. "You've got a strong case, Michael," she said. "When do you want to serve her?" I thought about it. Sarah's 37th birthday was coming up, August 10, 2024. She always made a big deal about her birthday, inviting Lisa, Emily, and half her office to some fancy dinner. I looked at Ms. Patel and said, "Her birthday. I want to serve her in front of everyone." She raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Let's make it happen." Every day, I kept up the act. I'd make Sarah breakfast, ask about her day, tell her I loved her. She'd kiss me and lie to my face. "Late meeting tonight, babe," she'd say, heading off to James. I'd smile and say, "No problem." But I had everything: pictures, texts, emails, proof of every lie. Sarah thought she was winning, laughing behind my back. But her birthday was 3 weeks away, and I was ready to flip her whole world upside down. 3 weeks to go, folks, and I'm counting down the days to Sarah's 37th birthday on August 10, 2024. I'm Michael Thompson, living in Austin, Texas, and I've got a folder stuffed with proof of my wife's year-long affair with James Carter, photos of them at the Bean Stop coffee shop, her car at his apartment, hotel receipts, emails where she called me boring. I'm playing the perfect husband, making her breakfast, smiling through her lies about late meetings, but I'm ready to drop the hammer. My divorce lawyer, Ms. Karen Patel, has the papers drawn up, and I've told her I want to serve Sarah at her birthday dinner, right in front of her smug friends Lisa and Emily. Sarah thinks she's got me fooled, but she's about to learn I'm not as stupid as she thinks. Sarah always made a big deal about her birthdays, inviting everyone to some fancy restaurant like she was royalty. This time, I took over. I booked a private room at the Oak Grove restaurant, a swanky spot in downtown Austin, for 8 p.m. on August 10, 2024. I told Sarah I wanted to make it special. "You're so sweet, babe," she said, kissing me. I just nodded, keeping my game face on. I invited 10 people: me, Sarah, Lisa and her husband Greg, Emily and her husband Mark, my best friend Tom Reynolds, and a couple of Sarah's co-workers who weren't in on her secret. I set the stage for a night nobody would see coming. The day arrived, and I was cool as ice. We got to the Oak Grove, and Sarah was all dressed up in a red dress, soaking up the attention. Lisa was her usual loud self, flipping her blonde hair, joking about Sarah being the birthday queen. Emily sipped her wine, smiling like she knew something I didn't chic. I played along, raising my glass for a toast, laughing at their dumb stories, passing around plates of steak and mashed potatoes. The whole table was buzzing, and Sarah was loving it, thinking she was the star of the show. We got to dessert, chocolate cake, her favorite. Sarah was opening gifts, laughing louder than ever, when I stood up. "I've got a special surprise for you, honey," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Sarah grinned, expecting some sappy speech or a shiny necklace. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick folder. "Sarah," I said, "you told Lisa and Emily I was too stupid to notice. Let's test that." I opened the folder and slid photos across the table, her and James at the coffee shop, checking into the Driscoll Hotel, outside his apartment on Riverside Drive. Her jaw dropped, her face turning pale as a ghost. I kept going. I held up a printout of her texts with James. "Here's a good one," I said. "You wrote, 'Michael's so boring, James is my escape.' And James replied, 'Your husband's doing us a favor.'" Lisa's wine glass froze in her hand, her mouth open. Emily stared at her plate, her face red as a tomato. The co-workers started whispering, looking shocked. Sarah tried to speak, "Michael, what are you?" but I cut her off. "Hold on, I'm not finished," I said. I nodded to a waiter I'd tipped earlier. He walked over, handed Sarah an envelope. "Happy birthday," I said. "You're served." Inside were divorce papers, signed and dated August 10, 2024. The room went so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Sarah's hands shook as she opened the envelope, tears spilling down her cheeks. I looked at Lisa and Emily. "You two laughed at me," I said. "Thought this was a big joke." Then I turned to Sarah. "You thought I was clueless. You thought wrong." I grabbed my jacket, walked out of the restaurant, and left them all sitting there, stunned. I heard Sarah sobbing as the door swung shut behind me. The next morning, August 11, 2024, I was out of our house for good. I'd already found a small apartment near Zilker Park, a simple place with a view of the trees. My best friend Tom helped me move my clothes, my books, a few pots and pans. "You're a boss, Mike," he said, slapping my shoulder. Sarah tried calling me that day, leaving voicemails, "We need to talk, I'm sorry." I didn't pick up. I blocked her number and kept moving forward. I was done with her lies. Word spread like wildfire. A friend told me Lisa and Emily ditched Sarah after that night. Guess they didn't like being exposed in front of everyone. I also heard James's wife, Laura, kicked him out when she got an anonymous package with copies of the photos and emails. That was me, by the way, I sent it. James thought he was some hotshot, but he crashed just like Sarah. She was alone now, stuck with the consequences of her choices. I won't pretend it was easy. 10 years of marriage, all those memories, they don't just vanish. But sitting in my new apartment, unpacking my stuff, I felt something new. I felt free. I wasn't the dumb husband Sarah mocked. I was Michael, and I took control of my life. I started hiking again, grading papers with a clear mind, even grabbing beers with Tom and laughing like I hadn't in years. Betrayal hurts, no doubt about it, but Sarah's biggest mistake wasn't cheating. It was thinking I wouldn't fight back. That's what cost her everything.